Today, Canada's provincial and territorial leaders are gathering for the first time since the federal election campaign. Joining us this morning is CTV News' Heather Wright. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, Ontario Premier Doug Ford offered to hold this meeting in Mississauga, saying one of the things he wanted to focus on was Western alienation, of course, a big topic that came out of the results from the federal election. How will the premiers and leaders try to address this problem?
Well, as you mentioned, Anne-Marie, the idea for this conference came about in the wake of the federal election. The premiers had a conference call and talked about the need to find some unity amongst them. We've heard a lot about Western alienation in the wake of the October 22nd election. There are, of course, no MPs, Liberal MPs in Saskatchewan and Alberta. So the idea for this meeting really came about to try to find some common ground. And they're going to be talking today about the issues, of course, that divide them, but the focus really is going to be on the issues that they can find some common ground. They want to work together, try to find the issues that they can all see eye to eye on, and then gather consensus to then go to the federal government and try to make their cases as one big group rather than having a piecemeal approach, province by province, territory by territory.
Yes, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe saying that Trudeau had said to him he will respect areas the provinces can reach consensus on. What are some of those that they've already reached? We saw a signing of at least an agreement in part on nuclear reactors between some of the provinces.
Yes, that was yesterday. 3 provinces getting together saying that they wanted to invest in small nuclear reactors, sort of the counterpoint to the carbon tax. Of course, that's a big issue that's going to be discussed today. There are a number of provinces, as we know, that have opposed the federal carbon tax, so they're going to be talking about that. They're going to be talking about equalization payments. They're going to be talking about Bill C-69, the so-called pipeline killer bill. That's what the critics have labeled this. So they're going to be talking about a number of things. Healthcare transfers, but really they've all come out and said that the idea is not to find issues that divide the provinces. They want to find those issues that unite them, find those areas where they can work together in order to, get more work done with the federal government. It's a minority government, so that's going to be even more important for the provinces. If they can find coalitions among them to make their case to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, it's going to make it that much easier for them to get things done.
Heather, last week, Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister defended his decision, inviting Quebecers who are affected by Bill 21 to move to Manitoba. They called it 21 Reasons. And then Quebec's Premier responded by basically saying, mind your own business, manage your own province. This is going to be the first time the two have met face to face. What do we expect to happen there?
Well, it's, as we know, when people meet face to face, often there's a lot more congeniality than when people are talking through the media or talking, over computers, over the internet. So I think that will probably come up between the two. But really, the idea here is not to stoke those regional divides. The idea for this meeting is to find the areas where these provinces can work together. Certainly, that might happen behind closed doors, and we are going to hear from the premiers at around 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I'm sure the media will ask those questions as to what might have come up about that. But I'm imagining that they sort of want to put that behind them and focus on the issues that are really important to the constituents.
Heather, one last thing just before we go. Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau had a very acrimonious run during this election campaign. And even though Doug Ford wasn't around a lot, we heard a lot of talk about him from Trudeau. There seems to be this real change in tone. All of a sudden, both of them have turned a new leaf. They're so willing to work to one another. What happened?
Well, it's such a good question, Anne-Marie, because we heard so much during the election campaign, people criticizing Justin Trudeau, saying, are you running against Andrew Scheer or are you running against Doug Ford? And we have seen a very big turn in that relationship. They had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and by all accounts, they are trying to turn the page on that frosty relationship. But Doug Ford is in a bit of an interesting position. He, of course, is one of the premiers that opposes the carbon tax. Ideologically, politically, he might have a bit more in common with some of the premiers of the Western provinces. But here in Ontario voters overwhelmingly did support the Liberals. The Liberals lost, I think, 1 net seat in this past election. So he's sort of having to strike that balance that he might align politically and agree with some of the other premiers' stances when it comes to things like the carbon tax. But voters in this province, voted for the Liberals. So he is in a position that he's sort of able to strike that balance with needing to address things that he doesn't personally and politically agree with, but also having to, deal with the wishes of the constituents here in Ontario.
Heather Wright, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.